All right, let's get right into it today. We're doing a deep statistical dive into a huge Week 15 NFC East matchup, the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Washington Commanders. And let me tell you, when you look past the basic records, the numbers in this one tell a really fascinating story.
So I want to kick this whole thing off with a pretty provocative question. Based purely on the data, could this be the single biggest mismatch of the entire NFL season? I know that sounds extreme, but stick with me. Because as we go through this, you're going to see why the analytics are pointing in a very specific direction.
I mean, look, on the surface, this is pretty simple, right? You've got the 8-5 Eagles who are deep in the playoff hunt, and you've got the 3-10 Commanders who are pretty much just looking toward next year. But the real gap between these two teams, it goes so much deeper than just their win-loss records.
And this quote from a recent report, it just nails it. It calls this a fundamentally unequal contest. And the key phrase there is measurable statistical efficiency gap. This isn't just about who has more talent or who has momentum. We're talking about a deep, quantifiable chasm in how these two franchises perform on a play-by-play basis. So let's actually dig in and see what that chasm looks like.
Okay, so here we go. Let's start by exploring that efficiency chasm. We're gonna blow past the simple box score numbers here and get into the advanced metrics, the stuff that tells us what's really happening on every single down. So the big question is, where does this gap show up the most? Where is this thing just completely lopsided? Well, honestly, the data is just screaming one answer at you: the defensive side of the ball. The difference between the Eagles' defense and the Commanders' defense is, well, it's simply staggering. To really see this, we've got to start with one of the most important stats out there, DVOA. That stands for Defense Adjusted Value Over Average. Now, it sounds complicated, but it's really not. All it does is measure how efficient a team is on every single play, and is smart enough to adjust for the situation and who they're playing against. And for defense, all you got to remember is this: lower is better. You want a low number.
And wow, this chart really tells the story, doesn't it? The Eagles have a negative DVOA, which is good. That means their defense is better than the league average, ranking them a very solid 9th in the NFL. Now, look over at the Commanders. They are way down at 27th. We're talking about a top 10 unit versus a bottom tier unit. That is a massive difference in defensive value, play in and play out.
All right, our next key metric is EPA, or expected points added. For a defense, think of it this way: how many points is your defense giving up, or maybe even saving, on an average play compared to a totally average NFL defense? And just like DVOA, you're looking for a low or even negative number. Now, what's really wild here is how this just confirms everything we just saw. The Eagles are, again, a top 10 unit, saving their team about 0.07 points per play. But look at Washington, ranked 31st. 31st, that means on any given snap, the Commanders' defense is allowing the second most expected points in the entire league. That's not just a bad day, that's a structural weakness. And hey, if you think this is all just some fancy, nerdy math, let's look at the old school stats. Total yards allowed per game, Commanders are 30th. Passing yards allowed, 30th again. Points allowed, 28th. No matter how you slice it, the story is exactly the same. The Commanders' defense struggles. A lot.
Okay, so we've established this huge defensive gap. Now let's see how that plays out where the rubber really meets the road, the battle in the trenches. This is where games are won and lost, and this is where Philadelphia's strengths can really exploit Washington's weaknesses.
According to Pro Football Focus, the Eagles boast the number 7 ranked defensive line in the entire NFL. This unit is absolutely elite. They generate pressure, they stop the run, they are the engine of that entire defense.
Washington, on the other hand, is just kind of sitting in the middle of the pack at 16th. But here's the really telling part. PFF has also labeled them their biggest faller. So not only are they just average, but they are actively trending in the wrong direction. That is a dangerous combination. So let's put all the pieces together. You have an elite, top 7 Eagles defensive front, going up against an offense whose starting quarterback, Jaden Daniels, is questionable with an elbow injury. I mean, that is a potential recipe for absolute disaster for the Commanders' offense.
But wait, it is not all doom and gloom for Washington. In this sea of negative data, there is one island of hope. There's one area where they not only have an advantage, but are actually one of the very best teams in the league. And this, right here, is their one clear shot at pulling off an upset.
And that path to victory? It's on the ground. Believe it or not, the Washington Commanders currently have the number 4, that's right, top 5 rushing offense in the entire National Football League. This team can run the football. And this slide right here, this is the entire story of Washington's hopes. This is the critical mismatch. Their elite top 5 rushing attack is going head-to-head with the Eagles' biggest defensive weakness, their 26th ranked run defense. If Washington is going to make this a game, it will be because they exploit this specific matchup all day long. So, now we come to it, the final verdict.
we have to weigh Washington's one significant, and I mean significant, strength against a mountain of statistical evidence that points to this being a pretty lopsided game.
So let's just weigh the evidence one last time. On one side, you've got the Eagles, a balanced top-tier team on both sides of the ball. Their defense is top 10, their advantage in the trenches is massive, especially with Jaden Daniels potentially out. Then you have the Commanders. Their defense is, by multiple metrics, one of the least efficient in football. This means their only clear path to keeping this close is by absolutely dominating on the ground.
And that leaves us with one final question that really gets to the core of this whole matchup. In today's NFL, can a team leverage a single, isolated strength, in this case an elite run game, to overcome systematic, data-driven weaknesses across pretty much every other phase of the game? Can one strength overcome a mountain of weakness? We're going to find out.